Today we continue our coverage. This ongoing investigation hopes to find the gaps in the system that led to the death of Dametrious Wilson.
Denver police found the 8-year-old unresponsive back in June. Now his great aunt is accused of beating him to death.
For months, Darius Johnson has partnered with 9 Wants to Know to learn what happened to this sweet little boy. Now we've learned his teacher says she did what she could to intervene, and she says if DHS had done its job, Dametrious might be alive today.
School can be a safe haven, a refuge for children who are not safe at home.
I love it. It's a great place.
At Ashley Elementary.
It's really a family.
Particularly room 209.
Reed, are we in your classroom right now?
We are in my classroom.
This is where Reed Gibson's second graders are taught to be terrific. Second graders like Dametrious Wilson.
He was the sweetest little boy. He had this huge smile on his face. Every day he would come running in and he would say, "Miss Gibson, hi!"
Miss Gibson also taught his big sister, Noelle White, who is now in the 4th grade.
She's also an angel. They both are just such great kids, and I feel lucky to have been a teacher for them.
This year, in room 209,
That was the first thing I put up when I came in.
Dametrious' smile and spirit remain.
I think just looking at his face and seeing that smile and that grin, I mean, that's the smile that he had every day, all day.
Even after his life was cut short.
It's something you never want to see, and especially for a child who's 8 years old, who still had so much left to give and was just taken way too early.
Children are unable to protect themselves, physically, emotionally, even verbally.
Stephanie Villaforte is Colorado's Child Protection Ombudsman, often investigating concerns regarding children.
They may not have the skills they need to say, "I need help." So the idea is these professionals in their lives take over that responsibility for them.
That's the responsibility of a mandatory reporter. Certain professions require people to report child abuse or neglect to the Department of Human Services. That includes teachers like Ms. Gibson.
I don't even know that I could make a count of how many I've done.
A dozen, less than a dozen?
More than a dozen.
And how long have you been a teacher?
This is my 5th year.
DHS was involved in Dametrious' life from the start. In March 2014, he was born with marijuana in his system. The hospital contacted Denver Human Services. Over the years, they investigated 4 other reports regarding Dametrious and his older sister, Noelle. That includes a February 2017 incident when they removed the children from their mother's home and placed them in the custody of their great aunt. Susan Baffour was cleared by Human Services for kinship placement. Legal custody belonged to DHS until the department gave Baffour parental rights in October 2017.
At first it started out okay.
A decision Dametrious' family thought was the right one.
I had him like every other weekend, and then it just stopped.
I couldn't hardly make a phone call to them without there being, an excuse.
Yeah, I kind of wondered why he wasn't coming around. Or
if they were planning on coming over Saturday, it got canceled.
I thought she just kept him away because I went to a different church.
COVID created more isolation from their family. Dametrious and his sister attended school online.
As a teacher, people say, wow, you really have an impact on these kids. You hang out with them a lot. You're with that child for 5 days a week, 8 hours a day.
In October 2020, Ms. Gibson first became concerned for the kids' well-being.
She had a cute little skirt and tights on, but she had ripped her tights in the bathroom while she was pulling them up. She went home, Susan saw that they were ripped. She came back the next day and she said, I got grounded because my aunt said that I took scissors into the bathroom and cut my tights. That's when she kind of broke down and was like, I don't want to go home. I don't like it there. I want to stay here. And that's why I made the report.
Ms. Gibson filed a report with DHS.
I just felt like it needed to be put in writing, said to someone, so that they could investigate further.
We found her report was screened out. DHS says it didn't fit the criteria to launch an investigation. The next red flag came nearly a year later.
Susan had emailed asking if we could put him on remote learning, and we told her that that wasn't an option.
Baffour's reasoning? Punishment, according to the school.
It wasn't right that she was trying to keep him out of school for 2 weeks.
In September 2021, the school attendance secretary called the Denver Public Schools Department of Safety to conduct a welfare check at their home. Baffour never answered the door, and DHS was never contacted.
The issue with mandated reporting is it's really designed to serve as an alert system for the system to know, hey, we have a child who's in peril, and somebody needs to go look at their home, check this out. When those things don't happen, we do run the risk that children are left in harm's way.
The way the law currently stands, DHS is not required to follow up with the family once a caregiver is granted parental responsibility. The last time DHS made contact with Noel and Dametrious was in 2017.
That's the last date that they have any record of Dametrious before his death on June 3rd of 2022. There is a 5-year gap from the moment Susan got him until the moment he died.
I mean, I don't know how DHS works, and I don't know what that process is, but you would think that there would be some follow-up after they've been placed in her custody to make sure that everything is okay.
I'm sure it leaves you speechless.
Yeah. And heartbroken, too.
How do we get more youth to really be seen and heard by all the professionals that are designed to help them?
Professionals like Ms. Gibson, who believes DHS needs to do a better job.
I mean, there are some days to me where I'm like, is it even worth me reporting anymore? Because obviously I will. I'm a mandatory reporter. I'm not going to not, but like, it just makes you lose a lot of hope in the system when you have something like this happen.
Losing hope in a system that is meant to protect children. I told you I have nearly 400 pages of documents. This is starting from Dametrious's birth. They were not given to me easy, and they were not easy to get from Denver Human Services. Some of those files were not provided to us until we went over their heads and went to the state. And those documents show that there is a massive gap where DHS never checked on Dametrious or his sister during the 5 years that they were in the care of Susan Baffour.
So this aunt got custody. There's no requirement to follow back up?
There is a requirement, correct. So there is a requirement to follow up 30 and 60 days after. However, there is no statute under the state of Colorado that requires the Department of Human Services to check in or follow up once someone has established permanent parental rights. So initially, they leave in February, they immediately go to Baffour. She's cleared of parental rights that October. They didn't have to go back and check on the kids at that point, and they didn't. So it's something that experts I've spoken with who say that's something that needs to be changed because it could save kids from dangerous situations, especially when you don't have eyes on them.
So that wasn't even part of the rules or the law then, but there were plenty of red flags though besides that.
There were red flags. You had teachers who were calling fouling reports. You know, this hasn't come out yet, but these kids miss more than 60 days of school in a school year. Any teacher looking at that is going to realize, okay, something is going on, and that's where they're making the calls. That's where they're calling the Department of Public Safety for the district to get someone to go to the home and check on these kids. Now, moving to the next story, we're really going to focus on his school records, the gaps within attendance, and also why the district policy didn't necessarily warrant an action from school leaders. We know this school has definitely done more to try to prevent this from happening again, and we're trying to see if the district will talk about that and see if it's something they are willing to implement as well.
Well, his teacher certainly did her best, that's for sure.
She definitely did. It was not an easy interview for her to do, and I thank her so much for being willing to talk to us. It's not easy.
No.
And his picture still sits in that class.
Wow.
Thanks, Darius. Appreciate it.